Nana burst out of his hut like a madman chased by the spirits of the underworld. His screams tore through the quiet evening as he ran barefoot along the dusty path leading to the shrine. But just as he reached the narrow road beside the ancient Iroko tree, something stepped out of the darkness, a glowing spirit. Its robe was black as the night. Its face hung forward, hidden, and its eyes, two dim, ghostly embers, locked onto Nana. His heart gave up the fight, his breath fled, and before he could scream again, he collapsed by the bush path, unconscious. What he saw inside his hut that evening was something even the bravest hunters of Ogidi would fear. For in Ogidi, a serpent entering a man's hut meant one thing: the gods had chosen him to witness a taboo revealed, and Nana had been chosen. Ogidi was a blessed village. Their farms flourished, their river never ran dry, and their maidens were said to be the most beautiful across all 7 kingdoms. Men traveled from far and wide to find wives there. But blessings do not come without conditions. Even unborn children knew the greatest law of the land. No one was allowed to bathe in Iyi-Ogidi. It was the sacred river of the river goddess. Anyone who bathed there defied the spirit and broke the balance between the living and the unseen. For years, peace reigned, until one morning when everything changed. Adaora, the king's only daughter, had returned from the white man's land at her father's request. She had lived abroad since childhood, in a place where the sun never seemed to rest, and the people walked with strange magic called science. But Adaora brought something back with her, something far more dangerous than foreign ways. She had no fear of tradition, no respect for the unseen, no regard for the sacred. That morning, she walked by Iyi-Ogidi with her maidens. The girls bowed as they approached the river, greeting the deity with reverence. But Adaora scoffed. She stared at them with confusion and irritation. When she asked why they were greeting a river, Neka, the head maiden, explained their ancient customs. She warned Adaora of the sacred law. But Adaora, raised in a land that questioned everything, even the gods, was unmoved. Her curiosity had nearly cost the king his throne once, and now it would cost Ogidi far more. Days later, during one of her private wanderings, Adaora slipped away from her guards and entered the forest path leading to the river. Drawn by the shimmering water, she stepped into Iyi-Ogidi, first her feet, then her hands. By the time her guards found her, she was standing in the sacred river, washing her feet. Their swords fell from their hands, their mouths hung open, some staggered back in terror. But Adaora simply walked out of the water, calm and unbothered. She said, "Let's go home." When the guards reported what happened, the king's fury nearly shook the palace, but he was trapped. To reveal that his daughter defiled the sacred river meant one thing: death. For days he found no rest. His heart battled between duty to his people and love for his child. Meanwhile, far across the village lived Obina, an orphan who survived by cultivating farmlands for others. Handsome, humble, hardworking, beloved by the very people who often relied on him for help. He lived a simple life, content and grateful, unaware that destiny had already placed him in the center of a spiritual storm. Because 5 years ago, something happened, something he had forgotten, something the spirit had not. Back in Nana's hut, the serpent that appeared earlier was no ordinary sign. For generations in Ogidi, it was known a serpent never entered a hut unless sent by the river goddess. And on that evening, the goddess had sent one. When Nana saw it coiled on his sleeping mat, he fled for his life, and the spirit appeared to him, bleeding, broken-faced, glowing with an otherworldly presence, and he fainted. By dawn, news had spread through Ogidi like wildfire. Panic swallowed the land. Mothers gathered their children. Elders trembled. Then the unthinkable happened. For the first time in decades, Ogidi ran dry. The sacred river sank into the earth as though swallowed by an unseen mouth. Silence fell over the village, a terrifying, suffocating silence. The people rushed to the shrine seeking answers. The priestess Neka pretended to consult the spirits. Together with the villagers, they marched to the palace. But unknown to the people, Neka had already visited the king in secret. On the day Adaora defiled the river goddess had appeared to Neka, stern and furious, revealing the truth and demanding cleansing rituals that meant certain death for Adaora. Afraid to lose her daughter, the king made a deadly pact with the priestess. They would accuse someone else, someone who had no family, someone whose death would shake fewer hearts, someone like Obinna. Nobody will miss him, the king whispered, and Neka agreed. But the gods had other plans. That morning, before the entire Ogidi, the sky grey and heavy, the priestess lifted her staff and declared, "The spirits have spoken. The one who bathed in the sacred river is Obinna." A gasp swept across the villagers. Silence followed, painful, heavy, heartbreaking. The maidens cried, men bowed their heads, even the trees seemed to hold their breath. Obinna stood frozen, confusion and fear gripping him. He had done nothing, yet the land demanded a sacrifice, and an innocent man was being prepared for slaughter. But would the gods remain silent? Would they watch an innocent man die for a crime he did not commit? Because 5 years ago, Obinna fed a spirit disguised as a beggar, and now that spirit was returning.